So, partner and Shirla, she just replied to my tweet, and I feel pretty special, even though she replies to everybody because she's a nice person. So, this is just going to be maybe a brief video. I don't know if it's going to be brief because I ramble, but these are just like a few of the thoughts that I have about what it's like to be a person that tries their best to be educated and woke. For those of you who don't know, woke is a term that I recently learned from Another Round, a great BuzzFeed podcast. Woke basically just means a person that tries their best to be socially aware of issues like gender inequality, race inequality, class differences, all that good stuff. Just like an all-around like socially educated person. It's definitely not an easy thing. Not by a long shot. It's definitely a burden that usually people of color and non-straight cis people go through. And it's hard because to stay educated and to stay woke, you have to constantly be learning about different things that are going on that are usually outside of your experience or that are also like within your disenfranchised community. It's not just learning about struggles that other groups of people have had in the past, but it's also about keeping yourself updated on the struggles that people are going through today. It can also really take a toll on your spirit. Staying woke and staying educated involves hearing so many stories about people getting killed and being shot because of the color of their skin, or people just being abused because they're not white. That's probably why I've really started getting into stuff like yoga and cookies and you know, it's always important to disconnect once in a while to take care of yourself, because hopefully, you know, you're doing all of this so that way you can contribute to the dialogue and try your best to make the world a better place in your own little way. But it's also important to know that, you know, you can't take care of the world unless you take care of yourself first. And that can be really, really difficult to keep in mind sometimes, you know, because you see so much bullshit going on in the world caused by white, straight men, usually. And you feel like any time that you take for yourself is not worth it, you know. You feel like your happiness means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things sometimes, especially if you're like an overly romantic, super neurotic person like me. And so the issue of self-care is already pretty hard as a person of color, but to be a woke person of color, it's not easy. And if you are woke, you might find yourself in positions where you are arguing with people, usually on the internet. That also can take a toll on yourself, you know, people calling you a racist, people saying that you're what's wrong with America. Like, there was this one white person on Twitter that was like, oh, I grew up poor, so white privilege doesn't exist. Like, it can be really disheartening also just talking to people and like realizing that there's some people that are just beyond help, that no matter what you say to them, you won't be the one to change their minds. You will run the risk of losing a lot of faith that you have in the world. And once you're woke, it can be really, really hard to like always shake off this feeling of discomfort. At least for me, I think it's worth it. Usually taking the easy route, it doesn't amount to much for me. And so I try my best to always challenge myself. Despite all of that, it's a challenge that I happily take, because I want to be on the right side of history, to always be learning and expanding my knowledge of the world and other people's experiences that are not my own, and to make educated actions and decisions and do things that don't just benefit me and my groups of people, but also other groups of people. You know, the face of institutional racism and gender inequality can seem really, really intimidating and really daunting, but it's honestly not an excuse anymore, because we have the internet now. Because like most people that you consider woke, they didn't get to this point overnight or just growing up. We had to read, you know, articles, opinions, think pieces, hopefully like academic texts to some degree. At least your basic sociology 101. And it's also daunting because there's never going to be a point where like you can finish your research and finish your learning, you know? Even today, I had a conversation with someone whose identity I couldn't quite relate with, and like I was still fighting that feeling of like, this person doesn't understand where I'm coming from, and they need to get in my head and understand where I'm coming from. And like, I want to explain to them why their point of view is not valid. Really problematic, I know. And like, I still find myself like going into that very self-defensive mindset sometimes. But, you know, like, the more people that there are that care about these kinds of issues, I think the easier the burden will be on everybody else. So I really hope that you will join me on this journey of being a better, more woke, more educated person. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video wasn't too boring. And I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.